Bible Belt Bros podcast with my best friend, Andrew.
Before we get started, I got to do my little holier-than-thou shout-out to myself. 368 days of opening the Bible app.
Oh,
on
good
my
job.
phone. That's right.
Over 1 year.
I am now over a year. Yeah.
Good job, Andrew.
Let's see. How long have I been a Christian? Let's see. 14 years, maybe.
14 whole years.
Maybe. Maybe not. Yeah, about 14 years. And this is my first time actually having this many days in a row of reading my Bible.
I've done it once. There was a read a Bible in a year
Right.
thing. But I was also on church staff, so it was way easier to take time out of my normal day and normal duties to read the Bible.
I mean, wasn't that kind of your job?
That's kind of the job. Yeah. And so
read your
it's
Bible.
way easier to be a Christian in that aspect with the disciplines when you don't have, a boss asking 8 hours of your time, 9 hours of your day. Anyways, side note.
Yeah.
But I did do it once.
Well.
I have a month or 2 months now of opening the text messages where everybody has read the Bible. Just to kill the notifications.
Yes. You joined the group and did it for a whole 2 or 3 days.
Yep. And then I got lost. I missed a couple days, and I had no idea where we were. And
bruh.
At least I'm not commenting done like everybody else just to be part of the group.
How do you know they're not doing it, though, and saying done?
You don't, but at least I'm not.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I could have easily just been yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah. Yep. Been what we talk about on the show.
Exactly. Fake, phony.
That's right.
But
Really?
today, Andrew, you've got a topic. You've been doing some more reading besides just the Bible.
I have. What is this?
I'm very proud of you.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, because you're reading a book that I suggested that we read, and then I never did.
I'm reading a book that one of our viewers or listeners suggested we read.
Correction, I responded with that book as an idea. He wanted a follow-up book.
Gotcha.
And that was a follow-up book
and
that
this
I
is
had
the one
been
you did.
thinking of.
Gotcha.
I never read it. I never did it.
See, I didn't really read the exchange, the convo. I saw the book. I was like, let me look into that. And I read the excerpt.
Now you're
from it,
discounting the idea.
and I was like,
it's my idea.
Well, it sounds like a good book. Well, and so
it was our one Australia person.
It was,
friend.
Yeah.
One of these days, man, I'll come out.
So I'm not even.
Really.
I'm maybe
poor.
a quarter of the way through the book. So this isn't gonna be a huge in-depth talk about the book. But there were I'm even highlighting in the book, bro. I don't ever do that. What in the world? I have too much time on my hands now that I'm starting to read.
Too much time on my hands.
So the first thing I highlighted, before you even start reading the book, it had a quote. And I like the quote because it's kind of what we talked about in our first book, chapter 8 or 9, when it was talking about the industrialization of church.
Okay.
And it said, in the beginning, the church was a fellowship of men and women centering on the living Christ, which is what church should be. Then the church moved to Greece, where it became a philosophy. Then it moved to Rome, where it became an institution. Next, it moved to Europe, where it became a culture. And finally, it moved to America, where it became an enterprise.
Bum, bum, bum.
Richard Halverson said that.
Yeah, I'm in a Facebook group with him.
Ooh, is that the Masterminds?
No.
Oh.
Different Facebook group. I'm really invested into this podcast, Andrew.
You're in a lot of groups.
I'm in a little Christian podcast mastermind, so if you're interested in getting into podcasting and also a Christian, you might get a part of that Facebook group. They just give advice to people and such, and we do that every other Tuesday, and we also promote our shows to each other, and that's where we found that's where I found the Copelands and Rod Decker. What was his name? Dang it.
I think you had her.
Yeah,
I don't know though.
I know Steckers, and that's why I'm.
Yeah, I think it was
I'm
Decker.
just- yeah. Anyways, I think he's moving to Colorado now, because I'm Facebook stalker.
All right,
Great
so
at it.
I never actually said the name of the book. It's called UnChurching: Christianity Without Churchianity by Richard Jacobson.
You can find this book on Amazon. It's like $10, right? It's not very much.
I don't know. I have Amazon, the whole, pay, I don't know, $8 a month or something like that, and you get unlimited books.
Oh, gotcha.
Or maybe it's yearly. I don't know. It's something, but so I have that.
Cool.
But sure, yeah, what you said.
So what are some things that have stood out to you as far as, we went through pagan Christianity with Frank Viola.
Right.
That's how we initially started this podcast, was going through that book as kind of a study together. And then we decided from after that to maybe take a break on complaining about the stuff that the church does. And
or doesn't do.
Just have fun together as best friends typically do, and then make more friends.
All right, Dusty, you're rambling, so I'm going to move on. So,
okay.
You saw on our Facebook, I posted the other day when you actually found out I was reading the book.
Yeah, you're getting super involved, and it's kind of scary.
I am.
Because right now, you're actually going to edit this podcast because I'm going to be out of town.
Right.
And I would normally be like you and be like, I'm going to say some outrageous things and make some outrageous noises because you're going to have to edit it out. And I would do that, but you wouldn't edit it out. And so now
I would leave you in there.
I'm extra careful.
That's right. I would leave you in there.
You will allow me to look stupid.
Just like you left something in last week's that I didn't want you to.
You didn't say not to.
I did before the podcast.
But you still said it on the podcast.
I did, but expecting you to cut it out.
Oh,
but it's all good.
Oh, God.
I'll leave that one. So I asked, do you, so if any of you follow us on Facebook, if not, why not follow us on Facebook?
Hashtag why not?
Hashtag why not?
Russell Westbrook.
That was, that you actually haven't even or edited that episode. The hashtag episode.
Oh, no, I haven't.
So
come on, Rick, give that to me.
Hashtag why not? Wrong verbiage, brother. I asked, do you believe in miracles? And everybody that responded said yes, they do. They've seen them. They've experienced them firsthand. I never gave my response. Dusty, you never gave your response.
Yes.
So let me give you a second. Explain, do you?
Oh, you want my response?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so here's... yes, I believe in miracles, for sure. There are times... I hear more stories of crazy miracles like you hear in the Bible happen in places like Africa and stuff where there's demonic people eating dirt, standing on their heads in the middle, stuff like that. I've never experienced that. To me, I was thinking about that because, there's people that will say, like, every day is a miracle. The fact that we can breathe this air is a miracle. The fact that our bodies...
Right.
And that's...
Going beyond that.
That is... Yes, that's awesome that God did that. Because to me, it's a miracle driving to work where I'm in a 2-lane highway kind of thing. If I'm 1 foot this way and the car's the other foot this way, I'm dead. That's a miracle to have my trust in those people, especially in Oklahoma.
In this town.
Yeah. So, but I have seen instances closer in my youth years, not as much lately, probably because I'm more of a sinner now than back then, or at least I hit it better, one of the two. But there's been instances on mission trips where like a whole sound system was unplugged, but yet the sound system continued to run.
Hashtag Houston.
Hashtag Houston First Baptist. And I just remember that. That was also Mission Vision, I think, was the drama team. They were doing this drama, and it was very powerful. People's lives were changed that night. And then when we followed the power later, it was like, this shouldn't be on. Because they were in the middle of a skit, and the skit they unplugged, which on these old churches, the one extension cord that powered the entire thing.
Right.
And so when we saw that happen, we're like, oh no. But nothing changed. And the sound worked, the lights worked, everything was working until the end. It was just crazy. Like, I remember that one. happening, and that has to be a miracle. I mean, there's no other way that sound can run without power, right? So there's that. That's probably the biggest one that I've seen in the mission field. But again, I haven't gone overseas or anything like that to experience those type of.
So yeah, I've been to Peru a couple times, and the first time I went with an organization, Teen Mania. Ron Luce, Teen Mania?
Yeah.
Global Expeditions. There we go. That's what it was. Global Expeditions. RIP.
They're more locally now.
Yeah. And we went to this children's hospital and just laid hands on them. And, this one who had never been able to speak was able to speak. This one who was never able to walk was able to walk. And so I have firsthand seen them. Been part of the prayer circle that, prayed over them. And I don't know if it released their demons or what it was, but what we were told and what we saw were opposite of each other.
Right.
So yes, I do believe in miracles.
What about those TV evangelists where they lay hands and people fall down?
Yeah, where they push them down, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't believe in that.
Kind of those miracles.
What's his name? Benny Hinn?
Benny Hinn.
Yeah, Benny Hanna's a restaurant.
Oh.
Benny Hinn is
close.
Is the name of the guy.
Had the Benny.
Maybe it's Johnny Hanna. No, I think it's Benny Hanna. So, anyways, I was reading the book, and on the first page it talks about miracles, and he's talking about back in the 70s how he used to and his family used to do church, and people would just gather. And they would just talk, and they would bring their guitars, and they would sing, and it would just be this like 4 or 5 hour long, or sometimes all day long, gathering of just Christians sharing their lives with each other, and being the church, being a church. And he was talking about whenever they gathered, that people would just give their lives to Christ. They would give up addictions just like that, and miraculously healed at every turn. And he said that miracles became such a commonplace in their gatherings that they were just simply expected.
Right.
And that's definitely not something that's done today. We don't expect it. Matter of fact, we're caught off guard when something does, and we're opposite. We don't expect it. We judge it.
We discount it.
Yeah, we discount it.
Yeah.
When it does happen, we're like, were you really not able to walk, or they just saying that? Or are you just making up a story to make it sound better?
Yeah. Are you over-exaggerating your problem for the glory of everybody looking at you and putting you on a pedestal on stage? Look at,
Right. Are you trying to make a quick buck out of this? You trying to get your 5 minutes of fame?
Attention seekers, yeah. That's a huge deal.
And, this was 40 years ago this was happening. And, how have we steered so far away from that type of culture where people would show up and they knew miracles were going to happen. They expected them to happen. And now today we just, whatever, you're making that up. That's a bunch of bull.
Do you think it's come to a point where this is testing my biblical knowledge here. There was a time where Moses saw God and his face shined so bright, and it was just a reflection of him seeing God and being so close to God and God's glory. And so he had a veil over his head, to protect the people because it was so bright. Well, over time, his face returned to normal. It didn't have the shine, but he left the veil over his head. And I think it was kind of a, what would it be? Like he was ashamed maybe that the glory of God had faded away or something like that. And so he kept it over his head kind of as anyway, so do you think, kind of thinking on that process, that maybe because there's also the expectation of a pastor to be able to lead a gathering like that and have those miracles happen. And if they start not happening, that's where you start producing yourself the miracles to continue what God maybe had done in the past, but isn't doing now, and they're taking that as a reflection of whether their ministry is good or not.
Hashtag Benny Hinn. So another thing that he talked about after that was he didn't realize that churches were actually held in buildings, because they would just meet on the beach or in a park, or they would meet somewhere.
You mean in the 70s?
Yeah, back in the 70s. It wasn't until he was almost a teenager that he first set foot in a church building. And it was at that point he started hearing people ask him, what church do you go to? You know, what denomination are you? And how he grew up and how he was raised, he didn't even know that church could be a separate thing that he could go to. It's just what he was. It's who his family was. And as far as he knew, church was just something you were, like a family.
Like a community of believers.
Right.
Which is kind of the definition.
And so when people ask him, you know, what church did you go to, it's kind of like asking him, what family do you go to, or what family do you belong to? So
it's like when people say, are you a Christian? And they're like, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ.
Exactly. So, I mean, so much in just these first few pages that it just stood out to me, and because it just shows how far we've come as a quote-unquote church or institution or money-making organization, whatever it is.
Do you think it's a white person problem?
No.
Well, okay, let me explain.
'Cause-
Let me explain it.
Well, I see where you're going with this.
Let me explain it for the others who may not see. Do you think it's a white person problem? Because white people want church to be in and out. They're not like our sister church, New Beginnings. They're a black church, and they go till like 2:30, 3 o'clock. Like, you bring pizza and pop for the middle of the sermon. Little time to get fed and fed. You know what I mean? So, do you think it's just something with America culture? Really, is what it comes down to, where that kind of church of giving all day, especially for somebody like me, I value my time more than I value money, and so it's easier for me to tip a church 10%, you know, and them do the work, and I'm in and out in an hour, and I can still go to the lake, or I don't go to the lake, but I can still play Fortnite or go, you know what I mean? Like, I can do my normal life stuff, and it's only an hour out of the week. And I mean, our church is more active than I'd say a lot of churches in the area.
99%, I'd say.
But you know what I mean? So I don't know. Like, I feel like America culture wouldn't accept that kind of church anymore. And that's where I think we lose a lot. And I say this knowing we went through pagan Christianity, and I've changed nothing about my life, even though my convictions are the same.
Well, you do come to church less. So. All right.
Touche. I'm crying over here. That's so funny.
So, let me explain to you why I don't think it is a white person problem or white church issue. Because the same people who go to the black churches or go to the white churches or go to the Korean churches, that next Monday, they haven't changed one bit. They are not who they were on Monday that they were on Sunday. So it is not a white person problem, a black person problem, a Korean problem. It is a Christianity problem. It is our heart problem. So that is why I don't agree with what you said. And I know it may not be what you believe. It's just a theory you put out there.
Yes. Well, I mean, I kind of do believe it. I mean, I think American culture in general has affected Christianity.
Let's look back in the 1400s, 1500s, when Catholics and Christians were killing each other just because of their religion, just because of their belief in how they believed in God. So, no, it's not an American issue. Again, it's a heart issue, because this was before the commercialization of church. This
Correct.
is before they went, Catholics did go to a priest and did go, But Christians were meeting at houses in fields, in the forest, in the woods, wherever they could, just so they wouldn't get persecuted because of the Catholic belief. So again, I don't believe it's a white person, black person, Korean person, Hispanic person, whatever.
You don't believe it's a culture problem.
Right.
You think it's
a heart issue.
Heart problem.
Right. It is, what you've been taught, what your family was taught, what your ancestors were taught. I mean, and that it just gets passed down, and people don't want to change.
Yeah, especially me. I don't like change.
After that point, when he realized that church could be a place to go, it was a building or an institution. That's when he got into the ministry. He became a pastor. He loved being in church. He loved being the church, and he had such a great passion about it that he finally got into the ministry. He became a pastor, and that's what he did, and he loved everything about it. Though it was a completely different form of church from what he grew up with, he felt and he knew that God was every bit a part of that service as it was, when he met, just in circles. So, but then as he stayed in it, he started seeing the inner workings and the back room of it all, and kind of like you and I have seen, and it turned him off.
Yeah, it just gets old, man. It's just like
the backbiting, the back talking,
the back. Yeah, the I'm better than you who na boo boo stuff.
I have 368 days of straight Bible reading,
and I have to. But yeah, the back, and that's just kind of any business,
Right.
especially with church, because the problem you start running into is the church runs by so many volunteers, but there's a lot of people that are heads of those volunteers or heads of the church or whatever that will get a lot of credit, and then you get bitterness as a volunteer. And
and I was ahead of something, and I still got bitter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even the heads get bitter.
What?
Well, so
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
because they do so much work, but they're still underappreciated, or undervalued.
That's one thing I struggle with as a youth pastor is your job never, like when I edit videos or I make T-shirts or even podcast episodes, there's a completion to that job.
Right.
And with church, there's not. Church is an ongoing process, and so yeah, you might be able to look at and like that sermon series was cool, but you're continually to develop people at all walks of life, and so there is you have to really look back as a pastor and like see where people have changed, because it's at the moment you're probably just if you're a pastor listening, you're probably completely frustrated with some of your members.
Right. Oh yeah.
But if you maybe, not all of them, but maybe if you looked back a year ago, where were they? What were you frustrated with them for a year ago? And then you might see that, whoa, there is some change. Maybe not a lot, but maybe some change that you're a part of developing.
So this kind of could be the last point I talk about in this book, and then we can just ramble on about whatever if you want. But he got to such a point when he in that institutional pastoring that he feared he was becoming a heretic, and so he quit pastoring. He just straight up quit one day. He quit attending the institutional church. He started searching for more of a church community that was described in the Bible, kind of like what you and I were sort of doing when we started this whole podcast. We're just searching for more of a genuine community. Now we didn't quit the institutional church. We still go.
There's still a place for that,
right? And just like with us, many people thought he was falling away from God, and it was quite the opposite. He was trying to grow closer to God with what he was doing, and he said he wasn't looking for a perfect church. He was looking for an authentic church. And that's really what want is more of an authentic church, and I feel our church tries to do that. I mean, with the relationships formed and with the programs that they have to form relationships, but I don't know if it's hitting that mark.
Well, it's hard to.
It
with
is
1 hour a week, and if you go to house church 3 hours a week, it's a hard dynamic to hit.
Right. I mean, you have to be intentional about it, and you have to go and seek it and search it,
And that's where I struggle with is I am not intentional about a lot of things, not just church. There's a lot of
Right.
things I want to do, but I have no motivation of doing it.
Yeah, I want to get in shape. That's not happening.
Yeah, how's that working out for you?
Well, I'm still sitting at 12
buy
pounds down.
My
Well, 10 pounds
bigger
right
pants? Was bigger pants?
now. Nope, these are stretchy pants. These are sweats as you look over here. So, so that's just the first, not even chapter, first half chapter of the book. And I mean, I could go into so much more. Matter of fact, I'm going to go into a little bit more next week while you're gone.
Oh, fantastic.
We're going to have a guest on. It's actually just going to be me this time. Dusty's done a couple episodes of just himself, or himself and a guest.
I've never done it by myself because I have insecurities.
Well, you've had guest without.
Yes.
Yeah,
I have to have somebody.
And so that I will have a guest. I was just going to talk to myself the whole.
Who is your guest?
I don't know. You'll have to
Okay.
wait and find out.
It's not somebody else that you're trying to be better friends with than I am.
Well.
Oh, crap.
No. Definitely not. Matter of fact, we're kind of going to have a face-off.
Okay.
So
All right.
we'll see how this goes. And I don't know. Well, it may be good. It may not be good. Well, really, it depends on how I edit it.
Yeah, you can make it sound like you want to.
I mean, I'm going to be a genius.
There's one point I want to put in there is that you don't have to leave the church to start the type of church that the book UnChurching is about.
Right.
Like I've thought of doing this for a couple years now, and
But
I've
again,
never had
no motivation.
no motivation. I have worship leader friends, and I would
Right.
like to get together once a month and just come over to my house or whatever and just
Sing Kumbaya
sing Kumbaya.
and s'mores.
And it not be on a stage, it just be us, and
Yeah.
there could be other people here. It doesn't have to be just the musicians. But
I mean, bro, we did that in youth.
yeah, we used to do that when we were young. And that's what
Yeah.
there's a lot of things we used to do as youth, and those are the parts of my life where I'm like, I felt like I was the closest to God.
Oh, yeah.
And then I don't do those things, and I find out like, why is God not listening to me? And
Right.
well, maybe because I'm not doing those things.
I used to also run when I was in youth. Can't do that either.
from the cops. It's funny because it's true.
Touche.
So yeah, I'm excited next week, Andrew. Continue this talk on UnChurching, and I don't know. I feel like maybe people should get the book, read it. It's
I
on
feel
Amazon.
somebody should.
Don't look at me.
Oh, I'm not. I'm pointing at you. You guys can't see this, but I am pointing at Dusty, telling him to get the book UnChurching.
You can't even say it. I'm a part of the Facebook group. That means I know more.
So, you know how you're part of all these, podcast Facebook groups?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I am with my work.
Pretty popular.
I'm involved in a lot of real estate Facebook groups.
Oh, you trying to be better than me right now?
Only in my occupation.
I got real estate groups too.
What do you do? Their
They're
shirts?
Really cool. This is a Saturday Night Live skit. Sorry.
So something I don't watch, which I don't get the reference.
Why? Yeah. Why you're closer to God than I am? Is that what you're saying?
Pretty
Is
much.
that what you're saying,
Holier than
Andrew?
thou.
Holier.
Than thou.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Take it easy, guys.
We'll see you. Andrew will see you next week. You probably won't even listen to his episode now that you know it's coming out. It's cool. I understand. You don't have to. But
Hey,
it might be good.
Just know, I won't be wearing those pink.
Headphones.
Headphones.
And you won't be by yourself. So
It's
your
true.
special guest might be who
You don't know.
saves you.
I might do another podcast just by myself. I may do 2 podcasts next week.
Go power to you, bro.
I'm going to have the equipment at my house again. So
more excited that you're going to edit it than anything else in the world.
Hey, you took the editing from me, so
I know.
I was
I
editing.
was trying to make myself sound smarter.
Yeah. How'd that work out?
It didn't.
And now you got to edit.
I didn't say the smart things after I said the dumb things. I just said smart or dumb things all the time. It never corrected
And
myself.
you just thought it was me editing you, dumb. No.
No. All right.
All right, take it easy, guys.
Really, we'll see you next